Today we're going to review absolute value mixed with integer operations. That means adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing positive and negative numbers with absolute values involved. The absolute value of a number is its distance from 0. So the absolute value of 6 is how many spots it is away from 0. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The absolute value of 6 is 6. The absolute value of a negative number is still how many spots away from 0 is that number. So let's count. Here's 0, here's negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So even though we moved in the negative direction, the absolute value of negative 6 is still positive. So the absolute value of any number is always positive. Why? Because absolute value is distance, and distance can never be negative. So we talk about taking the absolute value. When should we take the absolute value? As soon as you can. That means when you see an absolute value with a number within it, you remove the symbols and just leave the positive term behind. So the absolute value only applies to what's inside the symbols. You have to keep everything that's outside the symbols even after you remove them. So here I have the absolute value of negative 4. So I'm going to remove the symbols and leave the positive term behind. So the absolute value of negative 4 is positive 4 because absolute value is always positive. Here, we're taking an absolute value of positive 4, but we have this negative sign outside. So we're going to remove the symbols, change whatever's inside to a positive, but we have to bring this negative with us. So the opposite of the absolute value of 4 is negative 4. Here, we have the opposite of the absolute value of negative 4. Now down here we already saw that the absolute value of negative 4 is positive 4. So we can change this whole thing to positive 4, but this negative sign comes with it. So the opposite of the absolute value of negative 4 is negative 4. It helps to say it out loud. So what about absolute values and expressions like this? How do we deal with that? When there is an expression inside absolute value symbols, we first simplify the expression inside. So here we have the absolute value of negative 5 plus negative 4. And that absolute value ends right here. So that just means we want the absolute value of this expression. And then we're going to add a negative 3 to that. Now notice there's no absolute value right here. So we simplify this first. Negative 5 plus negative 4, they have the same signs. So we add them together. 5 plus 4 is 9, and we keep the sign. So here, we simplified the expression inside. Notice I brought the absolute value symbols with me because I have not taken the absolute value yet. So after I've simplified, then I take the absolute value. The absolute value of any number is always positive. So I remove the symbol, leave the positive version of the term behind. So if this is positive 9, and then I add negative 3 to that. There's no more absolute value involved. It's just adding an positive and negative integer. So now I continue to simplify by taking 9 plus negative 3. Different signs, because this is positive and negative, so I take the difference between them, that's 6, and I keep the sign of the positive. So here, let's do this example up here. So first thing we did was we simplified anything inside absolute value. So we're going to simplify this first, then we're going to simplify this, then we're going to simplify this within the absolute value, then we're going to take the absolute value, and then we're going to continue to simplify. So right back here, 4 minus 6, we don't say minus anymore, we say 4 plus negative 6. That's negative 2. So I simplify this to negative 2, and I need to bring down the absolute value symbol plus this negative outside. So I'm going to show you the next step with all of them simplified. So here's this negative 2. Let's see how we got from here to here. I know that 5 times negative 3, positive times negative negative, 5 times 3 is 15. So I simplified that. I brought my absolute value symbols, and I brought this down with me. Let's go over here. Let's simplify what's in here. Negative divided by negative is positive. 15 divided by 3 is positive. So now I've simplified everything within the absolute value. I just need to now take the absolute value. That means remove the symbol, leave the positive version of the term behind, and bring everything else that's outside the absolute values down with it. So my next step has me turning this, this, and this all to positive and taking away the absolute value symbol. So here, this negative came from here. This is positive 2, but it had the negative, so it's the opposite of the absolute value of 2. Here's the opposite of the absolute value of negative 15. And here, we're just adding that. So now I can simplify these. So you have an entrance ticket with 4 absolute value operation problems. Once you complete those and you get them checked off, then you can enter the dice tournament.